In this session, hi all, let's continue. In this session, we will be continuing with program 9, that is develop jQuery script with HTML or CSS for subquestion 1, append the content at the end of the existing paragraph and list. B. Change the state of element with CSS style using animate method. Just underline that animate method. We'll be discussing on that. Next, ninth C. Change the color of any div animated. This is the ninth question. So let's dive in. So So first, let's see what is this jQuery and what is the relation between this jQuery and JavaScript. Okay. So first question which comes to our mind is what is this jQuery? jQuery is a JavaScript library. Even to understand this jQuery, you people must know the JavaScript. Since we have already done two programs on JavaScript, I'm sure you people are aware of this JavaScript. Okay. And then why it is so important or what is the advantage? When it comes to jQuery, it simplifies the syntax for you people to understand. It's easy when we are using jQuery. Okay, that's why the second point says it simplifies the common tasks such as DOM manipulation, event handling, animations, and Ajax. See, example also I have just given in JavaScript. If you want to access any ID with which has this my paragraph, what we used to do, we used to use document.getElement by ID. Within that we used to specify the ID details. But when it comes to jQuery, see the syntax, it's very simple. Just we use dollar. If you are uh, you have two ways of using this jQuery. Either you can use dollar, or in place of dollar you can also use jQuery. It is up to you, whichever way it is convenient for you, you can remember. Okay, since this is a syntax, you can use the dollar or jQuery. Within that, specify what ID you are referring. Okay, that is so simple, right? Instead of going with the document.get element by id, just specifying jQuery. With that, specify the id detail. Okay, and as I mentioned, jQuery is built on top of JavaScript, so you still need to have JavaScript knowledge to understand jQuery. Okay. And jQuery allows you to write less code. We have just saw the example, right? That document.get element by ID and using this dollar. jQuery allows you to write less code to achieve the same result. And next, you can easily add effects like fading, sliding, and animations when it comes to this jQuery. How to include jQuery in your web page? In JavaScript, we just used to include that script. Within that script, we used to specify the script path, right? But when it comes to jQuery, we must include this jQuery within the web page. Okay. How to include? There are two ways. One is with using a CDN, that is content delivery network, easier and faster and most appropriate way, and many people follow this CDN. Second way is downloading the file and linking it locally, less commonly used one. Using this CDN, how can we use script source? You need to mention this particular link, that is https://code.jquery.com/jquery hyphen 3.6.0 main.js. That 3.6.0 is version of this jQuery. This is with the help of this CDN. Okay. And as I mentioned, this jQuery uses dollar symbol as a shortcut for jQuery. You can either use, as I mentioned already, either if you want to make use of this dollar or jQuery, it's left to you. Again, within this dollar selector, as we have seen in the last slide, there you will be specifying what ID you are referring and dot action. Once that particular action is or the button is pressed by user, what action to be taken. Okay. And this dot action, this is a jQuery method that performs an action on the selected elements like click, hide, show. What action you people are mentioning as part of that button click, those things you can specify it within that. Next thing, what we want in this question is hiding and showing elements. Okay. Using this JavaScript, if we want to achieve hiding and showing, how can we achieve this? Document dot get element by id, specify that id dot style dot display is equal to none. That is how if we want to achieve same task or same thing using JavaScript. But when it comes to jQuery, it's very simple. Dollar, mention the selector, that is id, dot hide to hide the element, dot show to show the element. It's so simpler, right? That is why people love using this jQuery when compared to JavaScript. And when it comes to this changing styles with jQuery, document dot get element by id, specify the id dot style dot background color, that is set to blue for this particular, that is in JavaScript. But when it comes to jQuery, again, dollar my div, that is the id dot css. And one more thing you need to remember in this jQuery, when you specify particular id, it must be with hash. Okay. Dot css, again, it's uh, built-in part you can consider. Dot css, wherein you can specify what color or any other customizations you want. I think I added one more point in the notes part. If you want to add multiple styles or multiple elements within this css, how can or what syntax to be used? Okay. So in this jQuery, dollar hash my div, that is the id dot css, within that specify background color blue. See the above line and the below one, how simpler it is when it comes to jQuery. This dot css, this is a method used to get or set css properties. Okay. Next, handling events, dollar, that is jQuery, hash my button, that is the id dot click. Once it is clicked, what function or what action to be taken. For example, or for easy understanding, we are just going with this alert. If you want to add few more, you can add it. Anyway, we'll be discussing in our lab program. Okay. That is what the handling event or how to handle dot click. Within that, you will be specifying function and what actions to be followed by. Next, dollar document dot ready method in jQuery. This is the first line you will be seeing in the jQuery. This is used to execute the JavaScript code as soon as the HTML document is fully loaded and passed. When I mention fully loaded and passed, still if it is still loading CSS, that won't be an issue. Once this HTML document is fully loaded and passed, this becomes ready and it starts. And when it comes to animations, you can use jQuery's animate method. I ask you people to just make note of this animate when I read the question 9, right? See, this jQuery is having animate method to change CSS properties over time. How to use this animate? It is very simple. jQuery or dollar my box dot animate. Within this, you specify what should be the new width, what should be the new height, and once this flower brace is closed, you mention the duration for how long it should be in that particular uh, form. Okay, let's go to program. Okay, Go to program. See, everything remains same. This style sheet part is also same, title, everything is same. One thing what you need to remember is this cdn, which we saw in the discussion, right? You must include this particular line, that is line number 8, cdn for jQuery. Okay. And for this div my list, and this whatever we have specified here, it is initially before we adding any list to that particular paragraph and to particular list. This is what the data it is having. For this id, that is paragraph, we have assigned with my paragraph as id, and for this list we are using this my list as id. And initial content for this paragraph is, this is a paragraph, and initial content of this list is list item 1 and list item 2. This is what I'm referring. See here. See, this is paragraph, this is initial content, list item 1, list item 2. This is what the content we have specified here. Okay. Next, first sub question is to append list and paragraph, right? For that we are providing it with one text area, and we are assigning the id for the text area, that is user input. Okay. And button id append content, that is one button, and animate div, that is second button, which you can see it here, right? These two are the buttons and this is the text area. Okay. Next, when it comes to this HTML part, still we have this div id animated div class animated div. Okay. And this is css. Okay. This is what the css, and that animated div whatever we have added, right here, animated div, right? For that particular div, this is what the width is this much, height is this much, background color, margin, top, transition. This is what the css parameters you have added for that particular animated div. And this script 9s.js, that is the script which we will be seeing now, which is with the help of jQuery. When we were discussing in the PPT part, we have seen this dot dollar document dot ready, right? This will check whether HTML is passed and loaded properly. Once it is loaded properly and passed, it will start executing, right? See, this function append to list and paragraph. See, first, the sub question what we have is append the content at the end of existing paragraph and list. We have already seen what is the existing content for paragraph and list. This append content dot click, this append content here, append content is part of this particular id, right? Once this button is clicked, what it has to do, right? Dot click function get one variable, that is where user content as user input, that is part of this text area. User input is part of this text area. Get that content. Okay. Get that content means dot value, whatever value user has entered in that particular text area, get that content, have it in this user content. Then check, it should not be only spaces, right? There is some possibility that user has entered only spaces without entering any details. Just to cross check that what we are using if user content dot trim, this will remove whatever extra spaces, what before text and after text, or if it is having only uh, empty spaces, that will be trimmed out. If it is not equal to null, right? If it is not space only, if it is having content, then what it has to do, my paragraph. See, for this paragraph, we have assigned with my paragraph, right? What it has to do? It has to append whatever uh, text or data we are adding in that particular text area. Dot append user content. It's already been having the value whatever the text area is having. Once that part is done, dollar my list similarly dot append list plus user content, right? Next, if you have learned Python already, this append you will understand it very easily. It will be added at the end, right? Next, once this is done, the text area to be cleared, right? That is what we are performing in this line number 16. Okay. If the if condition becomes false, we'll inform user to enter some content to append. Okay. Let's see this. Background, let it be Aryabhata. Okay. Just observe this. This is a paragraph, initial data, whatever the paragraph is having, and this is the list item 1, list item 2. Once I click on append content, see the Aryabhata added after this particular content, and list is also added after this list item 2. Okay. Similarly, if you want to add more data, you can add it. And once this data is added, say this, it's been cleared. Okay. Next, we will see the second part, that is animate. Animate the div and change its state using animate method, right? See this animate div we have also seen in that CSS dot click, and this animate div, see this is the ID for this particular button. Once this animate div is clicked, function what it has to do, dollar, that is jQuery animated div dot animate function. Within this animate function, width 200, height 200, opacity 0.7. Previously how much it was, 100, and color is this particular one, right? Once this particular width and height is increased, followed by this, the function, next function is also called, which will call this add class animate state. Let's go to the CSS and check what is this animate state. Okay, it is animate state 1. Okay, this is animate state 1. What it has to do, it has to change the color to this particular one. Okay, okay, this here we are there, right? Okay, that is what the changing of background. First it will increase the size and then it will change the color. That is what the animate is doing. Let's run and see it. See, it has increased and it has changed the color. This is what your ninth program is all about. Thank you.